The fireman came across a kitten in the ashes, but what he discovered about the family was even more valuable. As the sound of the siren pierced the crisp autumn air, Daniel Thompson felt a familiar rush of adrenaline. He shut his locker with a metallic clang that echoed in the quiet Firehouse of Harmony Creek, Ohio. This small town, surrounded by rolling farmland, was a place where everyone knew each other, and a house fire was a collective tragedy. At just 26, Daniel was the newest member of the Harmony Creek Fire Department. He had moved from Cincinnati 6 months earlier, hoping to find a slower pace of life away from a past he rarely discussed. In the firehouse, he found comfort in the daily routine, the friendships with fellow firefighters, and the deep satisfaction that came from serving the community. Although he was still getting used to everything, he felt a strong sense of belonging. "Structure fire at 14 Maple Drive," Captain Miller called out. A robust man with a salt and pepper mustache and eyes that had seen too much, he informed them that there were reports of occupants trapped inside. The mere thought tightened Daniel's chest. Trapped occupants, that was the worst-case scenario. He quickly donned his heavy turnout gear, feeling the familiar weight that was both comforting and intimidating. Checking his oxygen tank, the hiss of escaping air reminded him of the risks he was about to face. He had to be prepared. The ride to Maple Drive was a blur of flashing lights and roaring engines. As they turned the corner, Daniel's heart sank at the sight of a 2-story farmhouse fully engulfed in flames. Thick black smoke filled the sky, obscuring the setting sun and casting an eerie orange glow over the scene. The heat radiated toward them, even from a distance. Neighbors stood across the street, their faces marked with fear and disbelief. Children clung to their parents, tears in their eyes. The air was thick with the acrid smell of burning wood and plastic, a scent that would remain etched in Daniel's memory. "Thompson, you're with me!" Captain Miller shouted over the roar of the flames. "We're going in. Reports say there's a family on the 2nd floor." Daniel nodded, feeling his throat tighten. He followed Captain Miller toward the inferno, his training kicking in. Every step was deliberate, every sense heightened. The heat grew more intense as they approached. The crackling and popping of the fire created a deafening symphony of destruction. They entered through the front door, which gaped open like a mouth of charred wood. The scene was chaotic. Flames danced along the walls, consuming everything in their path, and smoke filled the air so thickly that it felt tangible, choking and blinding. Captain Miller called out, urging everyone to stay low as they crawled on their hands and knees, the heat intense against their protective gear. Daniel felt the floorboards beneath them creaking ominously, as if ready to collapse. When they reached the stairs, the situation became even more precarious, with burning wood and crumbling plaster underfoot. Outside, the frantic shouts of fellow firefighters and the roar of water hoses battling the fire provided a backdrop of urgency. Halfway up the stairs, Captain Miller found their first casualty, an elderly woman, unconscious but alive. He quickly radioed for help and began carrying her down. Daniel pressed on alone, his heart racing. He emerged onto the 2nd floor, which was a maze of smoke-filled rooms. Crawling from room to room, he strained to call out, "Hello, is anyone here?" Silence hung in the air, broken only by the crackling fire. Just as he was about to turn back, he heard it. A faint, high-pitched meow. It was nearly lost in the chaos, but it filled him with renewed hope. He followed the sound to a small bedroom at the end of the hall. The door was partially blocked by debris, but he managed to push it open. A rush of heat and smoke hit him, and there, huddled in the corner under a child's bed, was a tiny orange kitten. No bigger than his hand, it looked terrified, with singed fur and trembling whiskers. Overwhelmed with a sense of protectiveness, Daniel gently scooped it up, cradling it in his gloved hand. "I've got you," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "You're safe now." As he made his way back through the burning house, the kitten felt like a comforting presence against his chest. The descent down the stairs was daunting, the structure weakened by the fire, but he persevered, finally emerging into the cool night air. Gasping for breath, he handed the kitten to a nearby paramedic, who quickly assessed its condition. "He's alive," the paramedic said, "but he needs oxygen and a good bath." Daniel looked around, scanning for the family he hoped to find safe. They huddled together, wrapped in blankets, their faces marked with tears and soot. A young girl, perhaps 7 or 8 years old, was sobbing uncontrollably, her face buried in her mother's shoulder. Daniel, the firefighter, approached them, feeling the heaviness in his heart from understanding their loss. He recognized that emptiness and despair all too well. Kneeling beside the girl, he gently pulled back his coat to reveal a small kitten resting in an oxygen mask. "I found this little guy," he said softly. The girl's eyes widened in surprise as she reached out a trembling hand to touch the kitten's fur. "Ember," she whispered, her voice cracking with emotion. "Is that really you?" As if responding to her, the kitten let out a weak meow. The girl's mother looked at Daniel, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you," she said hoarsely. "Thank you for saving him." Daniel shook his head, smiling gently. "He's a fighter," he replied, glancing at the tiny creature. "I just helped him out." Once the fire crews managed to bring the blaze under control, they were left with a smoldering ruin. Daniel stood there, the kitten cradled in his arms. He looked at the girl, Lily. Although her face was streaked with tears, there was now a glimmer of hope in her eyes. He understood that this was just the beginning of a long and difficult journey for them. However, he also knew he would be there for Lily, her family, and the little ginger kitten who had unexpectedly united them in the wake of tragedy. As he gazed up into the sky, the smoke stung his eyes, prompting him to focus again on Ember, the kitten. He felt a renewed sense of purpose. In the days that followed the fire, everything moved in a blur of activity and emotions. The remains of the house on Maple Drive stood as a stark reminder of that night, a skeletal structure against the picturesque autumn landscape of Harmony Creek. Back at the firehouse, Daniel found himself constantly thinking about Ember and Lily. He had taken Ember to the local vet, Dr. Emily Carter, a gentle woman with a kind touch. Thankfully, Ember had suffered only minor smoke inhalation and a few singed whiskers. Dr. Carter prescribed antibiotics and advised keeping the kitten calm and comfortable. Daniel, who lived alone in a small apartment above the town bakery, embraced this new responsibility. He created a cozy corner for Ember, complete with a soft bed, a scratching post that Ember mostly ignored, and all the comforts a kitten could need. Daniel carefully followed Dr. Carter's instructions, administering the medication with a dropper and cleaning Ember's soot-stained fur. He showered the little kitten with affection, filling a void in his life that he hadn't realized was so deep. It had been years since he lost his childhood dog, Buddy, a golden retriever who had been his loyal companion. After Buddy's passing, he had steered clear of getting another pet, worried about facing the pain of another goodbye. But Ember was different. He was a survivor, a tiny spark of life rescued from the ashes. Daniel's first priority was to reunite Ember with his family. He recalled that Lily and her parents were staying with relatives, the Millers, who had a house on the outskirts of town. He made the call to Mrs. Miller, introducing himself and explaining the situation. "Oh yes, the fireman who saved Ember," Mrs. Miller exclaimed. "Lily has been talking about him non-stop, and she's been so worried." They arranged for Daniel to visit the following afternoon. Despite his excitement, he felt a knot of anxiety in his stomach. He knew the family was going through a challenging time, and he didn't want to intrude. As he arrived at the Millers' modest but welcoming farmhouse, surrounded by fields of golden cornstalks, he spotted Lily sitting alone on the porch swing. Her head was down, and her shoulders slumped. She looked fragile and lost. Stepping out of his truck with Ember's carrier in hand, Daniel approached. When Lily looked up, her tearful eyes widened with disbelief. "Ember?" she whispered, a mix of hope and uncertainty in her voice. Daniel knelt down and opened the carrier. Ember hesitated at first, sniffing the air, but when he spotted Lily, he meowed softly and scurried straight into her arms. Lily buried her face into Ember's fur, tears flowing freely down her cheeks. "I missed you so much," she sobbed, holding him tightly. Watching them from a distance, Daniel felt his heart ache for the little girl. He understood that Ember was more than just a pet. He was a symbol of hope, a reminder of resilience in the face of tragedy. Moments later, Lily's mother, Sarah, stepped out onto the porch. She was slender, with tired eyes but a warm smile. She introduced herself and thanked Daniel once again for saving Ember. He's been a lifeline for her, Daniel explained, glancing back at the embrace between Lily and the kitten. He could see the connection between them, and in this moment, he knew that both Lily and Ember would continue to heal together. Daniel had been caring for Ember, and the little kitten was healthy and recovering well. He offered to continue looking after him until the family felt settled. However, Sarah insisted that Lily needed him nearby. "We're staying here for now," Sarah explained, gesturing around the farmhouse. "It's cramped, but we're grateful to the Millers." She paused, her voice tinged with stress as she added, "The insurance company, it's a process." Daniel could sense the tension beneath her words. He knew that dealing with the aftermath of a house fire was a complicated ordeal, a slow, often frustrating battle filled with paperwork and adjusters. To help, he started visiting Lily and Ember regularly. At first, he brought the kitten for short visits, but soon they turned into longer ones. He would sit on the porch with Lily, watching her play with Ember. Her laughter was a sound he cherished. During these visits, he learned more about Lily's family. Her father, Mark, worked at the local lumber yard. He was a quiet, hard-working man, now faced with the daunting task of rebuilding their lives. Sarah worked part-time at the town library, a job she loved, but it didn't provide much financial stability. Daniel found himself inspired by their resilience and quiet strength in the face of such challenges. He also felt drawn to Sarah. He admired her dedication to Lily and her ability to maintain her dignity and find moments of joy, even during tough times. He noticed the little things, like how she always offered him a glass of iced tea, remembered his name, and looked at him with a gratitude that made his heart ache. It had been a long time since he felt such warmth from someone he hardly knew. One afternoon, Daniel brought Ember over and found Lily sitting on the porch steps, looking sad. "What's wrong, Lily?" he asked, joining her. "I miss my room," she sighed, her voice barely above a whisper. "I miss my toys, my books, everything." Daniel understood that feeling of dislocation, the loss of security and familiarity. He had experienced it himself. Pushing his own memories aside, he responded gently, "I know it's hard, but you'll have a new room someday, and we can get you new toys and books." Lily shook her head. "It's not the same. Everything's different now." Daniel wrapped his arm around her, offering silent support. He couldn't promise her that everything would return to how it was, but he could be a steady presence in her life amid the chaos. At that moment, Ember sensed Lily's sadness and rubbed against her leg, purring softly. Lily picked him up, seeking comfort in the little creature. She hugged him close and whispered, "At least I have you, Ember." Daniel observed them, feeling a blend of sadness and hope in his heart. He understood that the journey ahead would be challenging, yet they weren't alone. He had formed a connection with this family, a bond forged in the aftermath of their shared tragedy. Surprisingly, he felt a deep certainty that he would do everything possible to help them rebuild their lives, piece by piece. It felt as if he was gradually stepping into a role within this fractured family, a role he wasn't eager to leave behind. In the weeks that followed, Daniel's visits to the Miller's farmhouse became a regular part of his routine, seamlessly woven into his days off from the firehouse. He always brought Ember along, but he started including other thoughtful gestures too. He'd pick up a box of Lily's favorite cookies from the local bakery, a new set of colored pencils, or a drawing pad. Sometimes, he even found a fairy tale book at a used bookstore to share with the kids. Beyond these small gifts, Daniel provided practical support. He helped Mark clear debris from the lot where their home once stood. The two men worked side by side in silence, the only sounds being the clash of tools and the cheerful chirping of birds. He assisted Sarah in organizing the few belongings they had salvaged from the fire, carefully sorting through smoke-damaged clothes and soot-covered photographs. Additionally, he offered to drive Lily to school a few times each week, providing Sarah with a much-needed break. During their rides, which were often quiet, Lily would gaze out of the window, lost in her thoughts. But some days, she opened up. She talked about her friends, her teachers, and her worries about falling behind in school. Daniel listened patiently, offering encouragement and reminding her of her strength and capabilities. Through these conversations, he learned more about the family's struggles. The insurance company was complicating matters, disputing the value of what they had lost and delaying the payout. The initial rebuilding estimate was also much higher than they had expected, leaving them with a sizable financial gap. Mark was putting in overtime at the lumberyard, trying to make ends meet, but the stress weighed heavily on him. Sarah was managing her part-time job at the library, along with the countless phone calls and paperwork for the insurance claim. Her usual brightness was now overshadowed by exhaustion, and Daniel noticed the strain on their faces, as well as the quiet arguments that occasionally surfaced. A quiet tension had developed between Mark and Sarah, similar to how Lily would sometimes withdraw into herself. Her laughter became less frequent. Daniel felt an increasing sense of responsibility and a strong desire to help them. His connection with Ember, the little ginger kitten, also grew. She became his constant companion, happily rubbing against his legs and purring whenever he returned home. Ember would curl up on Daniel's chest as he relaxed on the couch, providing comforting warmth. She followed him around the apartment, playfully batting at his shoelaces and chasing after dust bunnies, making the place feel lively. One evening, while cleaning equipment at the firehouse after a routine call, Captain Miller approached Daniel. "You've been spending a lot of time with that family," he remarked, his tone a mix of gruffness and kindness. Daniel nodded in response, stating simply, "They need help." Miller gave Daniel a reassuring clap on the shoulder. "You're a good man, Daniel. Just don't let it consume you. We all have our own battles to fight." Daniel recognized the truth in Miller's words. He knew he was becoming emotionally invested, perhaps too much, but he saw the pain in their eyes and the desperation in their voices. These feelings reminded him of his own past losses and the helplessness of needing someone to lend a hand. One Saturday, Daniel decided to take Lily and Ember to the park. The autumn day was beautiful, with the leaves showcasing a vivid array of colors. Though Lily was initially hesitant, she soon began to relax, running around the playground and chasing Ember. Her laughter rang through the crisp air. Daniel watched them both, a smile forming as a sense of peace washed over him, a contentment he hadn't felt in a long while. As they were leaving the park, Lily turned to him and said, "Thank you, Daniel." Her voice was sincere. Daniel ruffled her hair and replied, "You don't have to thank me, Lilybug. I'm happy to do it." Later that evening, Sarah called him. "Daniel," she said, her tone hesitant, "Mark and I were wondering if you'd like to join us for dinner tomorrow. It's nothing fancy, just spaghetti and meatballs, but we'd like to properly thank you." A warmth spread in Daniel's chest. "I'd love to," he replied. The next day, Daniel arrived at the Miller farmhouse with a bouquet of sunflowers for Sarah and a new toy mouse for Ember. As he stepped inside, the aroma of garlic and tomato sauce filled the air. Lily greeted him at the door with a shy smile. Dinner turned out to be a simple yet heartwarming gathering, and Daniel noticed that Mark, usually reserved, seemed more relaxed in their company. As Daniel shared stories about his work at the lumberyard, Sarah's usual fatigue faded for a moment. She chuckled at Lily's goofy jokes, while Ember happily stole the spotlight, playfully batting at the tablecloth and chasing after stray meatballs that rolled off Lily's plate. After dinner, they settled on the porch, watching the sunset. Sarah turned to Daniel and said, "We've been talking, and we really don't know how to thank you for everything you've done. You've been a rock for us." Daniel shook his head. "You don't need to thank me. I'm just glad to help." But Mark chimed in firmly, "It's more than just help. You've become part of the family." Hearing this, Daniel felt a lump in his throat. He glanced at Lily, her eyes bright in the fading light, then at Sarah, whose face showed gratitude and something deeper, yet undefined. He looked at Ember, peacefully curled up on Lily's lap, and he realized he truly had become part of their family. It felt wonderful. He had found a sense of belonging he hadn't known he was missing. But deep down, he understood the situation was temporary. He could be reassigned, they would rebuild, and he could vanish from their lives. So, he chose to savor the warmth of the moment, setting aside any worries for now. However, that fragile peace shattered a few weeks later when Daniel arrived at the farmhouse for his usual visit and found Sarah sitting on the porch steps, her face pale and eyes red-rimmed. Mark was pacing back and forth, his fists clenched. "Where was Lily? What's wrong?" Daniel asked, his heart sinking. Sarah looked at him, her voice trembling. The insurance company, they've denied a significant portion of our claim. Anger surged within Daniel. He knew how hard they had worked and how much they depended on that insurance money to rebuild. Mark stopped pacing, frustration etched on his face. They're claiming the damage to the foundation was pre-existing. They say it wasn't caused by the fire. It's a lie, Daniel thought. He knew that insurance companies often employed such tactics to minimize payouts. What does this mean? He asked, striving to keep his voice steady. It means we're short, Sarah replied, her voice just above a whisper. Short by a lot. We don't have enough money to rebuild. The news hit Daniel hard, leaving him unable to fully grasp the sadness that must be enveloping the Miller family. He could only imagine the heavy burden of their dreams slipping away. As he sat beside Sarah, he wrapped his arm around her, trying to offer some comfort. We'll figure something out, he said, though he wasn't entirely sure how. He wanted to be a source of strength, so he spent the evening with them, offering his support. Eventually, Lily came out of her room, her eyes puffy from crying. She held onto Ember tightly, hiding her face in his fur. Daniel felt a strong urge to help. He couldn't just stand by while their hopes fell apart. The following day, Daniel went to the firehouse, his mind racing with ideas. He spoke with Captain Miller, explaining the Miller family's situation. Miller listened, his expression serious. It's a tough one, Daniel, he admitted. Insurance companies can be a real challenge. But Daniel refused to give up. There has to be something we can do, he urged. After a moment of thought, Miller said, we could organize a fundraiser, a benefit dinner. We can rally the community around this. That idea ignited a spark of hope in Daniel. Harmony Creek was a close-knit community, and he knew they would come together to support the Millers. They began planning right away. They secured the town hall for the event and arranged food donations from local shops. Flyers went up all over town. Daniel's fellow firefighters pitched in, volunteering their time and helping spread the word. The community's response was incredible. Donations came pouring in, food, money, offers of help. Local businesses even contributed items for a silent auction. The local newspaper published a story about the Miller family and the fundraiser, which generated even more enthusiasm. Daniel worked diligently to coordinate everything, making calls, securing donations. He was fueled by a fierce determination to help the family regain some hope. He noticed a change in Lily as well. Although she remained quiet, a flicker of hope began to shine through. She helped Daniel create posters for the fundraiser, her small hands carefully writing out the details. She even offered some of her old toys for the silent auction. One evening, as Daniel was leaving the Miller's farmhouse, Sarah stopped him at the door. Daniel, she said, her voice filled with emotion, I don't know how we will ever repay you. Daniel shook his head gently. You don't owe me anything, he replied. This is what neighbors do for each other. Sarah looked at him with searching eyes. It's more than that, she said softly. You've given us hope. You've shown us that we're not alone. Daniel felt a lump in his throat as he reached out to take her hand, squeezing it gently. He didn't say a word, but he hoped his eyes reflected the depth of his feelings. An unspoken connection had formed between them, one he chose not to analyze too closely. He simply accepted that he would be there for her and her family. As the night of the fundraiser arrived, the town hall filled with people from all walks of life. Farmers, shopkeepers, teachers, doctors, families with young children, and elderly couples. The atmosphere buzzed with anticipation and goodwill. Daniel, dressed in his uniform, stood at the entrance, greeting attendees as they arrived. He felt a mix of pride and gratitude for his community, moved by their generosity and compassion. The event turned out to be a great success. The food was delicious, the music lively, and the silent auction raised a significant amount of money. People opened their hearts and wallets, donating generously to support the Miller family. At the end of the evening, Captain Miller took the stage to announce the total amount raised. It exceeded Daniel's hopes, enough to cover a large portion of the insurance shortfall. The crowd erupted in cheers, and Daniel spotted Mark and Sarah, their faces glowing with relief and gratitude. Lily stood beside them, clutching Ember, her eyes gleaming with joy. In that moment, Daniel felt a wave of emotion wash over him. He had done it. He had helped them, made a difference. But he also realized it wasn't just him. It was their entire community coming together for a common purpose. This experience highlighted the power of human connection and the enduring strength of the human spirit. It reminded him, once again, that he had made the right choice in leaving Cincinnati. The success of the fundraiser marked a turning point. The dark cloud of despair that had hung over the Miller family began to lift, replaced by a renewed sense of hope. With the funds raised and a revised, more affordable building plan, they could start to rebuild their home. Mark, energized by the support of the community, secured a loan from the local bank, using the fundraiser money as a down payment. He worked tirelessly, coordinating the construction and overseeing every detail. Sarah, her spirit lifted, joined him in the effort. Lily began planning the interior of their new house, choosing paint colors and browsing through furniture catalogs. Her usual optimism was returning, and her laughter started to fill the air more often. She dreamed about her new room, imagining it decorated in her favorite colors and having a special spot for Ember. With this fresh energy, she even began to do better in school, her grades improving and her confidence growing. Daniel remained a steady presence in their lives. He was there to help with the construction, hammering nails, carrying lumber, and painting walls. He also took Lily and Ember to the building site, letting them watch as the house took shape. Their excitement grew with each passing day. In the evenings, Daniel spent more time with Sarah. They'd sit on the porch of the Millers' farmhouse, sharing stories about their days and dreams for the future. Daniel found himself opening up more, sharing details about the loss that had brought him to Harmony Creek. Sarah listened intently, offering comfort and understanding. He learned about her aspirations to open a small bookstore in town, her love for literature, and her unwavering dedication to her daughter. He admired her strength, resilience, and quiet grace. The bond between Daniel and Sarah deepened. It wasn't romantic yet, but it was something profound, a deep friendship built on mutual respect and a shared understanding of loss and resilience. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Sarah turned to him and said softly, "Daniel, I don't know how to express how grateful I am for everything you've done. You've been more than a friend, you've been a lifeline." Daniel reached out, taking her hand. "You don't have to thank me. Being here with you, Lily, and Mark, it means the world to me." Looking into her eyes, he saw a reflection of his own feelings, gratitude, affection, and the hint of something deeper, still unfolding and yet undeniably present. As the construction of their new house progressed swiftly, the community rallied around the family, offering help, donating materials, and providing meals. The spirit of Harmony Creek thrived, showcasing the power of kindness. Finally, the day came when the house was complete. It may not have been exactly the same as the old one, but it was filled with the promise of new memories to come. It was a beautiful moment, a symbol of their strength and new beginnings. Moving day brimmed with joy as Daniel helped them carry boxes, arrange furniture, and unpack their belongings. Lily, her eyes sparkling with excitement, dashed from room to room, exploring her new home. Ember, equally thrilled, followed closely behind her, his tail flicking in curiosity. As they cleared away the last box, Lily stumbled upon a small framed photograph. It showed her and Ember at the fundraiser, with Daniel standing behind them, his arm wrapped around her shoulders. "This is my favorite picture," Lily said, her voice thick with emotion. "It reminds me of everything, of how we got through it all." Daniel gazed at the photo, feeling a swell of pride. He could see the happiness etched on their faces and the hope shining in their eyes. That bond had formed in the heat of their challenges. Later that evening, after the boxes had been unpacked and the pizza boxes discarded, Daniel found himself alone with Sarah on the porch of their new home. The air was alive with the sounds of crickets and distant laughter from inside. "It's beautiful," Daniel said, admiring the house bathed in the soft glow of the porch light. "You've built a beautiful home," he added. Sarah smiled and gently corrected him. "We built it, all of us together." Turning to him, her eyes danced with gratitude and something deeper. "Daniel," she said softly, "I don't know what the future holds, but I'm glad you're a part of it." Daniel reached for her hand, his heart brimming with emotion. He didn't need words. His eyes and the gentle squeeze of his hand conveyed everything they both felt. A few weeks later, On a sunny Sunday afternoon, Daniel received an invitation to the Miller home for family dinner. Upon arriving, he was welcomed by the scrumptious aroma of roast chicken and apple pie. Lily was busy setting the table, her face glowing with happiness, while Ember napped in a sunny spot by the window. Mark was calmly carving the chicken, his expression relaxed. As Sarah greeted Daniel at the door, her eyes sparkled with warmth. Wearing a simple dress with her hair pulled back in a ponytail, she looked beautiful. Sitting down at the table, Daniel took in the scene around him. He saw a family whole and happy, their wounds healed and their spirits lifted. As he looked around, he noticed a community that had come together, offering support and love. In the midst of it all was a little ginger kitten named Ember. In his own way, Ember had united everyone and brought a sense of hope for the future, one filled with possibilities and affection. He was no longer the lonely fireman seeking refuge in Harmony Creek. Rather, he was now part of something much larger and meaningful. He had discovered a true home, a family, and a sense of belonging. After dinner, while everyone sat on the porch watching the sunset wash the sky with vibrant hues of orange and purple, Lily turned to Daniel. "Daniel," she said, "Ember wants to thank you." With a playful smile, Daniel replied, "Oh, really? And how does he want to thank me?" Lily giggled and replied, "He wants to give you a cuddle." She gently picked up Ember and placed the little ginger kitten in Daniel's arms. Ember, no longer so small, purred happily, rubbing his head against Daniel's chest. Daniel glanced at Lily, Mark, and Sarah, then back at Ember, the little survivor who had brought so much joy and healing into their lives. In that moment, he realized he had found something truly special, something that would endure, a family, a home, and a love that was stronger than any fire and deeper than any loss. He had found his place in the world, right there in Harmony Creek, among the people he had grown to love. The little ginger kitten had given them all a precious gift, the chance for a new beginning.